In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the ultimate guide to buying versus leasing a vehicle, and by the end of this video, you're going to know more than just the pros and cons. You're going to understand which one's going to help you make the best decision as it relates to your lifestyle, your budget, and even your taxes. And as you probably already know, buying versus leasing are two completely unique ways of being able to purchase a vehicle, and there's many drawbacks and benefits of each. So it's really important that you make sure you tap in and watch through the whole video to make sure you consider every single possible thing as it relates to making sure you're making the best decision for yourself and your business. So over the years, both options have become increasingly popular, but which one is going to be right for you? In this guide, I'm going to be discussing every single thing that you need to know about buying versus leasing a vehicle, including the pros and cons of each. And by the end of this video, you're gonna have a better understanding of which choice is going to be right for you. So let's go ahead and get started. So when considering buying a vehicle, it's important to keep in mind that a down payment is typically at least 10% of the car's value, and it's typically required in order to go ahead and purchase that vehicle, which could be a pretty significant upfront cost depending on the cost of the vehicle. And additional monthly payments for a purchased vehicle are generally going to be higher than those for a leased car, and the maintenance and the repairs must be factored in as well, which could really add up over time. It's also important to remember that the car's value is going to decrease over time, which can affect resale value if you decide to sell it later on your own. And when you're ready for a new car, selling or trading the car can be a hassle and may not give you the best return on your investment of money, but also time. So you'll also be responsible for arranging financing. You got to obtain insurance, which can be pretty time consuming and stressful. However, one of the best things about owning your own vehicle is that you're able to own it outright, and you're able to make custom adjustments to your liking, and you also have the freedom to sell it whenever you want, and you are not limited to mileage restrictions or lease terms, giving you a lot more flexibility in the long run. And ultimately, buying a vehicle can be a good option for you if you're looking for long-term ownership and the ability to be able to customize and sell the car as you see fit. But it's important to consider the financial commitment and the potential resale value before making that decision. So make sure you do your research and calculate the total cost of ownership before committing to a purchase. However, if you're someone who loves to have the latest and greatest technology or the latest model, buying a car may not necessarily be the best option for you, as you're gonna have to deal with the hassle of having to sell it, you have to trade it in. Ultimately, it's important to weigh the pros and cons of each option and make a decision that best fits your specific lifestyle and your budget. If you buy your vehicle and use your vehicle for your business, you can actually deduct the cost of operating and maintaining that vehicle. And you have two options when it comes to that. So you could use a predetermined mileage rate identified by the IRS. Typically, it's going to be 60 cents plus for the year. Or you have what's called the actual method, which is going to be the actual operating and expenses as it relates to maintaining the vehicle, also depreciation using section 179. So key points to consider is this: the actual method gives you a deduction quicker than the mileage method, because depending on the type of vehicle that you have, you can claim the following tax deductions. 1, you're able to get what's called bonus depreciation. 2, you're able to go ahead and use section 179 expensing. Or 3, you're able to use MACRS depreciation. And those are your options as it relates to taxes. But before we move on to leasing, if you're finding this video helpful, be sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. So leasing a car comes with mileage restrictions, which could be limiting if you have a long commute or you enjoy taking long road trips. Additionally, you have to return the vehicle at the end of the lease term, which means you won't have anything to show for it for the amount of money that you spent on the vehicle. Another downside is that you're not able to customize it to your liking, and you'll also be responsible for paying for any damages or excessive wear and tear on the vehicle. While leasing can be a good option for those of you who want a new car every couple of years without the hassle of selling or trading it in, it's important to remember that you're essentially using that money instead of possibly using and building equity in that vehicle over time and basically being able to have that vehicle for the long term. So this means that you won't have any type of ownership stake in the car, and you won't be able to sell it for a profit later on. It's also worth noting that leasing a vehicle can be more expensive in the long run, because you're basically paying for the car's depreciation over the lease term. So this can really add up to thousands of dollars over the course of the lease, making it less cost-effective option than buying a vehicle. And like I said, it's important for you to consider your lifestyle and your budget when making this decision. So if you have a long commute or you enjoy taking road trips, then buying a vehicle is probably going to be the better option for you. Also, like I said, you are able to go ahead and have some kind of equity in the vehicle. When I say equity, I'm not saying that it's an asset per se, but it's going to give you the ability to be able to own it over the long term and actually be able to have the vehicle. So with a lease, you can get a new car every few years without having to worry about selling or trading it in for an old one. And this could be a really good option for you for those who want to keep up with the latest technology features without having to commit to a long-term ownership situation. And if you're still unsure which option is going to be best for you, make sure you go ahead and consult with a financial advisor and also a tax expert to help you be able to tax plan and identify which one's going to give you the best tax savings in the long term, which ultimately leads to more wealth. So the actual cost of deduction for business vehicles that you lease actually consists of the monthly payments. So you're able to actually deduct the cost of the payments of the lease up to a certain amount. So whether you are buying a vehicle or leasing a vehicle through your business, ultimately it's going to depend on your business use. And what I mean by business use is this, right? So if you are using the vehicle for business purposes, you want to be able to calculate the miles that you drive as relates to your business, and that's going to determine the percentage that you're able to deduct for your vehicle. So let's say, for instance, you go ahead and purchase a vehicle or get a lease for $2,000, okay? And let's say now you're able to go ahead and use that lease or use that vehicle for now 60% for business purposes, okay? So 2,000, the 60% of 2,000, that is going to be 1,200, okay? Same thing as it relates to a bought vehicle. The difference is it's not necessarily going to be the payments on the vehicle, it's just going to be based on the overall purchase price of the vehicle, and then ultimately you want to determine what that percentage is, and then you're going to go ahead and calculate that based on the different depreciation methods. Like I said, you have bonus depreciation, you have section 179, and you also have the MACRS depreciation, which is based on the depreciation table from the IRS based on that current year. One thing I do want to note as well, it's important for you to remember you won't have any ownership stake. Ultimately, no matter which you choose, it's important to weigh the pros and cons of each option and make a decision that best fits your lifestyle and your budget. Take into account all the different factors such as your commute, driving habits, your financial situation, the lifestyle that you want to live, and so much more. So make sure you go ahead and do your research and consider all the factors before making a final decision as it relates to this, because it could impact a lot of areas in your life for years to come. You want to think about how often do you want a new vehicle. Leasing gives you a big push to get a new vehicle every 3 years or so when the lease ends. How much do you trust the dealer or the lessor? Leasing is a pretty complicated transaction that requires you to really pay attention and have a close understanding of exactly what you're doing with. And if you're not sure what your family or business situation is going to be in a couple years, then it probably makes sense to possibly go ahead and get a different option for you as it relates to getting your vehicle. You also want to take into consideration status considerations, because leasing costs are generally lower and you can lease a vehicle that you couldn't afford to buy. So when deciding whether to buy or lease a business vehicle, consider these key points for a balanced understanding of each of your options. So choice is yours. Thanks for watching this video. Again, if you found this helpful, make sure you go ahead and subscribe, hit me with a thumbs up, and be sure to check out this next video right here for more tips. Peace.